Myself and Wyatt are in the States. Wyatt's more of a sales role. I'm more of a support role. And then, of course, we have Scott here as well. So Wyatt and I, or whoever's not talking, basically will pay attention to the chat in Google Meet here. So if you do have a question as we're going through, feel free to put it in the chat. One of us will be able to look into that and reply to answer that question. But beyond that, Scott, if you want to go ahead and take over, go right ahead.
Yep, thanks for that, Austin. It's my first really big training, so Wyatt and Austin are going to interrupt me at any point when I forget something, because I'm sure I'll miss something in the training. So I'm just going to start sharing my screen. And hopefully, is that looking all right there, Austin?
Yes, if you like late models.
If you like late models, we won't get into that debate because that might upset people. But so what we've got here is we've just got a test one that we'll use to run through a few things with the profiles. And I'll try and run you through some of the cool features that we've got. Really, our aim for this one is to, obviously, as Austin said, introduce you to what MRP is all about and what it looks like behind the scenes. But we've got a lot of tracks that have come on board ready for this new season, and we want to make sure that that first night is a success for you. So now's a chance for us to be able to show you as much as we possibly can. And it probably will be a little bit of an information overload, but again, you can always reach out to us through the support email on the website, and we'll offer as much help as we can. And obviously, you've got the chance to pop questions in the chat today. And Austin and Wyatt will interrupt me if I miss anything. So this is basically the home screen for your track, or if you were running a series, it would be very similar. First thing you've got is obviously your profile pictures there, so you can easily update those. Literally just hitting on the update images, it's all part of your profile there. So you can make sure that you have something that attracts all your viewers and everything. This is your home screen. And you can see you've got things here, season management, which we'll run through shortly, along with race management. You've got your profile screen here. So this is what you can update for your fans to see information on your track. So you can put in your length there, shape, banking, composition, any extra information you want to have. So we've got all your coordinates for location, all the information about your track. So the fan information, what camping you're allowed. Coolers obviously being Eskies here in Australia. Any other information around ATMs, parking, and so on. So you can update all of that information on here as well. And then obviously, if you purchased my MRP website as well, that you can link into that from here. But we'll talk about that one a little bit later. There's probably two features I love on this page here. The first one is this My Race Pass app favorites. This one's really all about the fan engagement. So if someone was to search your track on the MRP app, there's a little star there. If they click on that app and on that star and favorite it, it basically means that they're going to be almost subscribing to any notifications you send out. So we can do notifications direct to their phone, basically, when a green flag drops, when your lineups are up, when results are up, when a news article's been published. So that's a really key element to engaging the fans. And you'll obviously this is just a test account that we've got, so there's only one there, but you want to be able to see that, the numbers of fans are going up for that as well, and see how many people are engaging with that. And I believe we have a pretty good open rate on that as well. So that's a really cool engagement tool. Austin? Oh, so no, Austin's I'm looking at the notifications there. All right, so we've got other bits and pieces here. I'm not going to run through all of those today because we just won't have time, but this tool down the bottom left here is the really important part. This is what we call the sandbox, and what you can do here, everything that we show you tonight, you can actually go into the sandbox and test things and play with things, play with your lineup, set up an event and that sort of thing, and it won't actually reflect on your account, which means it won't be open for the general public to see. So this is where you want to go off and have that play before you actually are ready to publish things to the public. So you can test creating a lineup and with your points, you can test assigning points for different championships. You can play with your race formats and things in that as well. So there's some key elements just on that homepage there. And I think anything I've missed on that bit, Austin, good to go?
Nope, all pretty straightforward stuff there. The one thing that I will say is sometimes this gets conflated. The things that you put in the profile tab affect app information specifically. If you do have a website through us, anything in the profile tab really doesn't govern the website. Profile tab is things people see in the app about your organization.
Alrighty, so if we're looking down the left-hand side here, I'm going to just work my way down. Obviously, we've been working on the dashboard here. If I go to the profile, this is what I was sort of indicating before. This is where you can update your images. It'll tell you if there's, if it's not the right size and that sort of thing as well. So that's all there for you. Again, this is another way you can link into your profile, just working your way down here. You've got your billing information. You can add your users in, permissions and all that sort of thing. So that's down the side there. Again, I won't go too far there, but with the users, you can add different people in. If you need to maybe add, if you've got a track admin that's going to be helping sort your nominations, and then you need to add your lap score or your transponder operators in there, whatever that might look like. Alrighty. Let's go into season management. So this is where you're going to set up what your season looks like based on your calendars. So a couple of things that you need to do first of all is you're going to set up all the divisions that you might be running. Now, obviously, in Australia, we run quite a few different divisions to what America has been running. So the team's been working really hard to make sure we get all of our divisions in there. They're not all in there yet. There may be some little intricacies that we need to work out. So if there's a division that you need to add that's not in there, let us know and we'll work with you to make sure that we can add that in. So this is, if we're talking about being a track, if we're setting up a calendar for the whole season, we need to add any divisions that are going to be in there. So you can see down here, here's our season divisions. At the moment, we've got our 410 sprint cars. Maybe this season we're going to add in our, maybe we want to add in the 600cc wing micros will be our Formula 500s, late models and production sedans, for example. I would just add those in like that. And these are the ones that we're just going to, in our pretend series, we're going to add. The cool thing about these accounts is that they can all link in. So if my track is actually going to host particular series and they've got MRP accounts, we can actually add them in here. So for example, if I wanted to add in the Maddington Toyota Sprint Car Series, I can actually do that here. So if I type it in, oops, if I can spell it right, and that would come up. And what it essentially is going to do is going to be able to link your accounts. So if they've already set a calendar up, it'll link in with what we're setting up here. And you can do that with any touring series that's got it, whether it's your late models or legend cars or whatever it might be, that will all link in as well. So this is where you're doing the basic part of your season setup there. Oops. So you've got your season information here. You can give it a name. Obviously in Australia, generally they'll run calendar years. In America, but obviously we're running generally from the 1st of July through to the 30th of June. So we've got that option as well. And I think that's all I need to cover on that little bit. Austin, have I missed anything on there?
Not really. The only thing that I would say is that it's usually best to add the series first, because adding the series first will add the class associated to that series. So like if I were to use the United States example, if I go in and I add the series World of Outlaws, it's going to add 410 sprint cars to my list automatically. So you're basically completing 2 steps there. So for you guys, that would be like any club that's got my race pass profile. If you go ahead and add the club in that where the series is, then the class associated with those folks will be added already there automatically. So you don't have to worry about going through and trying to figure out what class they're using. Just add the series profile. The class will come through automatically.
Alrighty. So once we've done that, we can come back to our screen here. We've got the season divisions, the yearly registration. So this is where someone could go in and basically, if they were going to run every single event at your track for that season, they could nominate there. Probably in Australia, that's not going to be an option that we're going to use too much. So I'm just going to park that one for now. But what I will do is I'll come to our scheduling of events one. So this is where we're now going to do the nitty gritty adding of each of our season dates. So what we can do here, obviously we've got some events already set up here, but if I was going to go through and do my whole event, maybe I could say, all right, I know I've got an event on Friday the 3rd and the 17th. We're going to run every Friday for those events. I could add them in like that. You can obviously go through and do your whole season at this point. And if you hit next, then you can go, okay, so this is my test event one. You can give it whatever name you want to. Again, this is where you can add in details. So you can add in, you know, maybe it's the sprint car title is going to be held that night or whatever you want to add in there along with the basic information. And then you select what event, what drivers might be running there. So maybe on this particular night, we're going to run these 3. And then once you've added that one, you've got your next ones. And you could just keep doing the same thing. I'm just going to discard those ones. All right. So once you've done that, the events will come up here. So you can see this is the event I've just added. So you could have your whole season added here. You'll see underneath all the divisions that are going to run. And this will obviously be populated on your MRP accounts as well. So the fans can go across and access it, see what time your gates opening, hot laps are on, what divisions are on, that sort of thing. If I clicked on that one, again, I can go through and edit it. And if we were going to add tickets onto that, you could do that. That's a different sort of beast. So we might tackle that one another day as well. MRP is working hard on that to make sure that's available for us to do in Australia. You can check your divisions and we can add it to our schedule as well, which we've already done there. The next part of that is race management. So I find an easy way to do it is if you're trying to work on one particular event, you can just see down the bottom there, you've got the race management. So we can go straight into that, ready to start building that particular event. So this is the screen that comes up when you're looking at an individual event. So we're working on that October 10th, sorry, 3rd of October event. First thing we've got is you come up with the option as to how you want to set the event up. Now, you've got an option where if you just want to do your own grids and randomly pop them in, you would select this no pill draw. However, when we add drivers in, you actually have the option of either having a randomly generated pill draw, which can be done here. So when they check in, that they get a randomly drawn one. Or you've got manual entry if you're going to do some like a ball draw and something on the day. Austin?
Scott, I think you're sharing your RM screen in a different window.
Oh, whoops. I've opened in a different one.
I think when you shared, you must have shared this window.
Yeah, I must have hit the wrong one. Is that better?
Hey, there we go.
There we go. Sorry about that. I must have clicked the wrong one when it shared. So as I was saying, you can select your pill draw here. So sorry, if you don't want a pill draw, if you just wanted to sort your own grids out, you can do that in this section. If you wanted to do it as you add in your drivers and it's randomly allocated, or you've got manual entry if you need to, ball draws. So you've got all these options here to do that. And then on the right-hand side, you've got the ability to say there's no transponders, because the beauty about MRP is you don't necessarily need to be running transponders to be able to use the race management system. So if you're not running transponders that night, we can manually add events in. Obviously, if you're using transponders and you're allowing rentals, that's this option here, or you might have that all drivers have to provide a transponder. But that's pretty much the basics for that one. And you need to sort that for each of your divisions. So you can see the sprint cars are there. You've got the wing micros and the late models. So those are all there ready to go. So this is just saying what we've got running on that day. I'm going to come back to the MRP live tab and I'm going to move to the entries here. Oops, so I'll just save those. So this is where your nominations, excuse me, will be brought into the system. So there's a couple of different ways that this will happen. Once you've got an event up on the MRP site, drivers are actually able to nominate for that one. So if they've nominated, you'll be able to see that here by pre-entries in this little tab. Obviously, we haven't opened this one, so they're not going to come up, but that'll make it easy and you can just click them in. and they'll be ready to go. However, and this is where we're finding with Australia at the moment, because we haven't got everyone nominating on here yet. You might just need to go and go, yep, BJ Barstool's going to be in this event. So on this left-hand side is going to be populated by either people that are pre-entered or people that have raced at your track in that division at some point in time, which means it's pretty easy to grab them from here. So if I said, yep, BJ Barstool's going to race, literally just clicking on him, we know that he's going to race that number. You can see here, because we set it up before with the randomly generated pill draw, you've got that number there. And then we can add in our transponder number here if we wanted to. That's pretty much all that we need to look at. The only other thing that you might be interested in is this, say BJ Barstool's a brand new driver and he needs to start rear field. You've got this lineup override here, and you can choose to have them starting at the back for the heats or for all races, so that, you know, you might get a driver that's only going to start at the back for the heats and then they need to go into the field for the feature, or this would be all night. So you do have that ability as well. And then basically hitting add there, and you can see he's now in my entry list. Now, if you wanted, obviously you can see this list can get quite long, so you can search here. So if I knew that my guy was going to race, if I knew my driver was going to race number 100, there's Mac Marbles. I can search it by that one, add him in. Or if I knew the driver's actual number, name, I can grab him from there, and I will need to add a number in there. You need to make sure that all the numbers are different though, because if I went to add in 01, it's going to come up with a warning saying, hang on, someone's already got that number. So even if it's, you know, you're adding a letter into it, depending on what your track or facility does, but that will give you that warning as well. So you won't be able to have anyone that is on different, so it has got the same number. The cool thing about this is that the accounts are all linked to the driver's name and location. So it doesn't matter what number BJ Barstool races, it's still going to link all his results back to his account through MRP, which is a really cool feature that we might show you a little bit later if you haven't already seen that. So I think that's about all. If I'm just going to add in our few more of our drivers. And then Austin, I'm probably going to have to, I'll set the races up and then I'll hand over to you if that's all right.
For the orbit side of it?
Yes, if that's all right.
Yep, no problem.
So I'm just adding in, I did one more driver. So we've got our drivers in there. So this list would now be live up on the MRP app as well. So if people wanted to go in and see who was going to start racing tonight, also who's going to race this event, they'd be able to go and access that. Obviously, it's a little bit different to America because quite often they don't know who's going to race until like 5 o'clock on the day. Whereas, excuse me, with us, we generally have a nomination list prior in Australia. One thing I did forget to say as well, I've just said that we've got drivers from the side here. Now, there might be occasions where you need to add a driver in. So if you pick someone that you know has already got an account, I'm just going to pick Ronnie because I know she's in here today. I could click Ronnie and add her in because her account's automatically going to come up. So it's just going to come up with a warning message saying, hey, it's the first time she's been entered in here. Can I enter it in? So yes, that's correct. And she'll come up there. However, if it's a new driver that has never ever raced at a MRP race track before, you need to create them. So I could just put myself in because I don't think I have an account. Just double check. So I don't have an account at this point, so I could create one for myself. So I'm literally going to hit create new, and this comes up, and all you need to enter in is your first name, last name, country and state. Clicking this one here to make sure, okay, and then if I hit create, the cool thing about it as well is it's going to also see it's come up with a warning saying, hang on, do you mean this driver? Now, obviously, we know we don't at this point, but sometimes that's just another way to triple check that you're not creating a new driver. We want to make sure that we're keeping all that, excuse me, all that data as clean as possible so we're not creating random, extra drivers if they've already got an account. Click that one and create new, and then it's going to come up with that screen going, hey, it's the first time I've been entered in. So I'll hit yes, that's correct. And then I'm going to give myself a number, give myself a transponder. Oh, I haven't given myself one. Again, the cool thing about the transponder is if I've already entered that in, it's going to come up with a warning, just like the number did, to say that I can't use that. So that's all our entry list now. You can see we've got 7 people entered for this one. I'm hoping that makes sense. I haven't seen any. Well, I actually can't see the chat, so I'm just going to assume that we're good to go. So I'm going to move on. Yep, I can see the thumbs up from Austin. So I'm going to move into the races now. So now we've talked about, we set up our eventers in what competitors, what divisions are going to be there. We've set up our entries. Now, obviously, I would need to do this for the wing micros and the super late models as well, but for the purpose of this, we'll just stick with the 410s. The next bit is to go into the races. Now, the cool thing is if you're running the same thing every week, you are going to have the format already saved there. So you can see here that we had 10 entries at the last show. We had 1 A feature, 2 heats, and 2 groups of qualifying. So I could pick those if I needed to. Otherwise, manually setting them up, I might say that we're going to have, we're going to have hot laps first. We're going to have, with 7 drivers, we're only going to have 1 group of 4 hot laps. Then we're going to have qualifying, and there'll only be 1 of those, and there might be 2 laps. Now, you don't need to put the laps in for qualifying all the time. You can obviously manually change those once you've imported them. We're just going to have 1 heat for the purpose of this today, and that's going to be over 8 laps, and then we'll have a feature. Now, it's really important to make sure that you're actually adding in here that what sort of feature it is. So A feature is obviously your A main. Then if you're having B mains and C mains, you can obviously add those in. We will get to actually edit them here. So you can see this is what comes up. So you can see there's my hot laps that I just added. There's the qualifying, there's the heats, and there's the features. A really cool thing is you can add a sponsor in there. So if Bill's Painting Services is supporting your hot laps, then you can have that in there. This just shows you what your lineup looks like as well. So with 1 driver per row, that's just for hot laps, the lineup doesn't really matter, but the drivers actually need to be in there. You've got your qualifying. Now this is where, again, we've got 2 laps. So for you need to think about what sort of format you're doing. We might just say that all of them are going to go into our heat. This is where you need to set up what your format's going to look like. So from qualifying, you could say they're going to go straight to the A feature. But for the purpose of this, we want them to go straight to the heat. Then you've got your heat race here. Maybe we've got a sponsor, MRP sponsoring the heat races tonight. And from that race, we want all of them to go into the feature and so on. So that's all your races there. They're ready to go. All right. Then the last thing is our lineups. Now, with the hot laps, I'm not really too worried about that. I'm just going to pop them into that order. However, you could do it. So I just clicked on them all and randomly put them in. If you need to shift them around, but I could calculate it from the pill draw. So if I clicked on that, so it's going to move this window. You can see it's worked it out from the pill draw there. So that's the order that they're going to go out with. All right. And it might be the same with our qualifying here. So for the purpose of this one, might be from our pill draw, but obviously you can see you've got different options here. The cool thing about this is that over the years, MRP have built in almost every lineup you can think of. So a lot of it's there. We are still working on getting a few of our Australian lineups in there, and that's something that will be coming. Hopefully not too far away, but you've got options to do that. And the cool thing is if you go, you know what, there's something not quite right, you actually want to switch those 2 around, you can just drag them across. Austin?
Can you talk a little bit about, this is a question that we've got a number of times from Australian promoters. Can you talk about that 2 out of 3 lineup deal that you guys do that still doesn't make sense in my brain, but a lot of you do it?
So obviously in Australia, we've got a bit more of a focus on heat races. So the standard format for Australia might be that you've got a random draw for the first heat, and then the second one, it's an invert with the rows switching over. So each driver gets 2 heats, which is easy enough. For tidal events for sedans or for club shows, you might have 3 heats per driver or 4 heats per driver across the weekend. So that's all things we're going to build in. The one that Austin's talking about is where we've got usually the numbers are between like 12 and 24 or so, where it's not quite enough to split the heat. As in with 12 drivers, you would have 2 heats of 6, and a lot of tracks don't really want that. So we have started building a format, which is basically 2 out of 3. So say we had 12 sprint cars rock up on the night, we would have 3 heat races, but each driver would only be in 2 of them. So you'd have 8 cars in heat 1, 8 in heat 2, and 8 in heat 3. But each of those drivers would actually only be in 2 of the races. So everyone would be getting 2 chances to get their points. So we've got that sort of in an Excel format, and the development team are working really hard to get that into this system so that we'll be able to use that across the nation. Hopefully that explained a little bit for you, Austin.
Yeah, no, I know that it was a common question, so I wanted to make sure that if anybody had any questions on it, you could get them answered here.
Absolutely. Did you want to run a qualifying run so we can set the heat grid?
Sure, absolutely.
Yep. All right, so if I hit save on that, we've got our qualifying there, and I'll just stop sharing my screen and I'll get Austin to show you how it looks when we're importing it into Orbits.
Perfect. So let me go ahead and share. And here we are. And let me make sure I'm on the right track. There we go. So we use a tool that lives in between My Race Pass and Orbits called MRP Live. What MRP Live does is it allows the two to communicate. So all of my entry and lineup data that I put into My Race Pass can be imported into Orbits. All of the results data from Orbits can flow exactly the same way into My Race Pass. And then it also allows live timing and scoring to work in the app. So if I open up the app here, I can search your favorite track, AU. Obviously, you guys would search for your own track and not this demo data. But you can see that, I've got an event for today, October 2nd. I can see that I've got all my classes added. There are lineups for a class. I don't remember exactly which one. All that kind of stuff is there. So we're all set. Now, if I go into My Race Pass and I go to Race Management, I can see, again, this is everything that Scott had already worked on, all the class information. Scott, were you using today's event?
No, I think I created the new one for the October 3rd.
Okay, so you're using, that's why I was confused. All right, perfect. So we've got all of Scott's entries in here. We've got races tab information. We've got lineups. All that kind of stuff is in there that we'd already talked about. So MRP Live, there's a tab dedicated to it. And there's a download application link. Again, small application that lives between Orbits and My Race Pass. I always encourage you to download and install this on the same machine Orbits is on. It can work intra-network. But oftentimes individual racetracks don't have, the network infrastructure to make that viable. So just make it easy for yourself. Download and install it on the same machine Orbits is on, and this is what the application is. It's really simple to connect. You got an IP address and a port number. You've got a connection code. Those are really the only 3 things that you'll worry about here. So obviously in Orbits, in the distribution tab, is where you'll see the IP address and port number. If you've used Race Manager or Race Monitor in the past, this will be a familiar process for you, right? IP and port out of the scoreboard feed. Port is always 50,000. IP address won't change usually unless your internet service provider is doing something weird. But typically, IP and port are the same. The connection code is the only thing you'd worry about changing on a week-to-week basis. And back in MRP Live, there is a code that will be generated for each individual event. So I can copy and paste that code, or you can click launch from web. Either way, it does the same thing. I'm a creature of habit, so I copy and paste, and then I connect. And now that I'm connected, when I go back to the app, and again, Scott was using tomorrow's event. So let me go back to the track profile. Let me go to the schedule. Let me find tomorrow. Now you'll see MRP live timing, ready to go. Obviously, there's no data here yet. I haven't started a race, but now live timing works because I'm connected. So there we are with that. And now that I come into orbits, instead of, and let me delete the last race I did in here, instead of managing a driver database, creating groups, creating runs, all of that, you can just import it. So when I go to import groups and runs, I can browse for and find my groups. That's basically the driver data, right? So you really should only have to do that once at the very beginning of a night. Unless drivers are showing up late, which I'm told in Australia is impossible, you really only have to import the groups once. So I've got all my class data imported. Scott's only worked with one class on this event. If you've got 7 classes running, it'll import all 7 at one time. So once I've got my groups imported, then I can import my runs. That's my lineups, or grids, I should say. This is something that you'll have to do multiple times, right? Because as qualifying is done, you'll have, the heat races, you'll have features, you'll continue to create lineups. Scott?
Just might need to go back to the MRP live and hit the get lineups button because this is the previous event stuff.
Oh, yes, it is. I didn't press get lineups. Got ahead of myself. So this get lineups button right here, this is the trigger to send the data. So the way that this typically works where I'm at is I'll connect early in the night, do a transponder test, import groups right away, right? And then during engine heat is kind of when I say, all right, is the transponder working because it goes across the flag stand where I'm at? Maybe it doesn't for you, whatever. But then once I've got lineups created for the first time, then I can press get lineups here. And that's the trigger. You see this information panel loaded up with data. So that's the trigger to be able to import my groups. And then import my runs if I've got lineups created. That looks right, doesn't it? There you go. You got your qualifying, you got your hot laps. We're all good there. So import groups, then import runs. Now, what if I need to make a change to this? Well, if I need to make a change to this, let's say I had entry information wrong. You know that this transponder was wrong. Let's change that. What do I have? 1004, 1005. And I'm going to tailor this to what demo mode in Orbits allows. So we're just going to add 10 drivers and add transponder numbers for all of them, and we'll be all set. We'll say he rented that transponder. How many do I have now? 8? Okay. And then I'm going to be missing 1. I think it is 1008. Perfect. Okay. So now I've made changes to my information here, right? All I need to do is press get lineups again. And I really should have showed you this first. Now, when I come to my qualifying order, I can just manually add those 3 to the back, save as lineups. I press get lineups again. And now I can come to orbits and I can re-import and it will fix the data. So if you do have to make a change to a lineup, you want to show it updated in your orbit system, make a change to the lineup, re-import. Now I've got, for qualifying, all 10 of them ready to go. So I can go in and I can time the race. Let me open up Orbits' wicked awesome fake racetrack that they provide. There we go. All right, we're running. While that's running, there's one other feature that I want to show. In my race pass now, I am an announcer by trade, so this is why this is important for me to show. There's a lap viewer screen that you can hit, and you can pull up, and it'll show you all of the live timing views that are in the app, but it'll show it on desktop, right? So you got your best lap view. This is named qualifying, so it autos filters it to the best lap. If it's not named qualifying or hot laps or time trials or practice or something like that, then the default view will be the running order screen. So you got running order, you got best lap, you got positions gained for the plus minus, you got average lap time, including the average over the last 3 laps. You've got lap leaders, all that data available for your announcer. It's there for you. But now, as I come back to Orbits, I got too many things open. I'm getting confused. As I come back to Orbits, I can checkered flag and stop the race as you normally would. Nothing about your experience from green to checker changes from using Orbits. So I checkered, flagged, and stopped. Now when I come back to my race pass, you'll be able to go to the results screen, and there is a pending upload waiting for you. So I can manually fill in results. I can click the name of the driver on the left in the order that they finished, the same way you can do lineups manually if you need to, or you can use the upload from Orbitz. So I will click the link for the upload. There are my results dumped in from Orbitz. Important to note, you can still manually manipulate this. So if you want to mark your DNF, DNS, DQ, or black flag, you can. If you know that his transponder fell off, but he actually finished 5th, I can drag him up to 5th and resave. You find out 20 minutes later, guy in 2nd didn't make weight. Okay, I can mark DQ and resave. It'll push him to the bottom. So you can still manually manipulate this, but you can see how the auto import into Orbitz and import from Orbitz back to my race pass works pretty well that way. And so now that, like I said, that was the hot lap one. I imported it into the wrong race. But yeah, if you're paying attention, obviously, like I'm not, because it's 5:38, you would be able to import it into the correct race, all that kind of stuff. So we'll just say we manually finished qualifying this way. That's how we finished qualifying today. Yeah, you can see how that process works. As long as you're importing into the correct race, everything's pretty straightforward. If you don't get the import done right away and you have other races go, that's fine. The program will store up to 30 imports. So you can, if you got all the heats done, then you can go back after the heats and import all the results in order. So not a big deal there. But yeah, we worked with Orbitz, with MyLaps for a long time to make sure that we've got this import as easy as it can possibly be. We actually surpassed their expectations for what an import could be. We've been told that by Orbitz. We think it works pretty well. So Scott, I'll let you go back.
Yeah, and so just one thing you might have seen when Austin imported that, that there was 2 that actually started, the 2 names were highlighted yellow. That's just another way of warning you and letting you know, hey, hang on, there's something, these guys are tied here, so can you have another look at that that result? So you can see here that Austin's loaded in the result here. So even though I'm on a completely different computer on the different side of the world, the results loaded up there. So when he uploaded it, it came up with 2 yellow ones. So that's just them going, hey, have a look at this, make sure they're, the numbers saying that they're tied, make sure that they're in the right order.
Yeah, that was hot laps. That was because I didn't have drivers in the lineup. You only had 7 guys in the lineup for hot laps. I imported 10 results into hot laps, so that's why they were highlighted yellow. They weren't in the lineup. But I will say, if a driver's in the lineup but not in results, like they never went out on the racetrack, you never had any data come over from the Orbitz upload, it will append those drivers to the bottom of your results list and auto mark them as a DNS. So in the reverse, things still work like they should. As long as you're uploading results to the correct race.
And the other thing that you can do is, as Austin said, obviously when the race is run, it'll come up here automatically if you've got all your MRP live connected. However, if you're using the same computer, you can literally export the results straight from Orbitz and upload it here. You just literally choose your file and import it in. So that's another way of doing it. And as Austin said as well, if you are manually doing it, you can literally, you've got information here. Easiest one I found, literally car numbers here. You click on that, type your numbers separated by a comma there, and that way you're uploading your result as well. So like even a manual lap scorer can do that to import your results. Alrighty, so you'll notice now that we've finished our qualifying, it's automatically moved us to our heat races. Now, because we've done the qualifying, we can actually calculate our lineup from qualifying. So, for example, heat from qualifying, there's an option there. I'm going to do that and done. And what that'll do, we've got it set up. I'm just going to set this up here to 2 races per row. Oh, what have I done there?
You want to set that up in the races tab?
Yes. That's right. So you can see here it's got individual, but obviously in the heat race they're starting up side by side. I forgot to change this here before. So if I hit 2 there and hit save, go back to my lineups, and you can see now they're side by side. Now, this result that we set up was done via the qualifying. Now, some tracks you might have, for example, an invert. Say your top 4 are inverted. So we've got you covered here. You can click on here, invert and 4, and you can see it's just inverted the top 4. So it's that easy to do it. And then as soon as you hit save lineups, that's going to be published on the MRP account. Everyone can log on and see it. So, you know, you can have your pit marshal on their phone ready to go, running around showing people sitting in the back of the trailers, looking at that. That's how quickly it will happen. And then you're ready to do the exact same thing with the MRP. So I don't know if you want to show that again, Austin, but basically he'll import that run again, which will load this lineup that we've created into the orbit system, run the race. Once that's finished, you'll be able to import it back in. Did you want to do that, Austin, or?
Yeah, I definitely can. Process is, again, super simple. I've got new lineups, so I'll press get lineups here in MRP Live. Now that I've got new lineups, I can come back to orbits and I can import my new run. Works pretty well that way. So open, next, finish, good. So now I've got heat 1 here ready to time as well. So we can do the same darn thing.
Just interrupting you there, Austin. So you can see here that Austin's obviously got the lineup saved in that middle bit of the screen. So that's created directly from what we created back in MRP. If you've got production that wants to link directly into this, they can use that as a lineup tool, or obviously they can link straight into the MRP as well. So you've got different ways that the lineup can be shared on a big screen or however your track chooses to do that.
Yeah, and actually, one other tool that we've got available is a lineup monitor screen. I see a lot of racetracks over here, like just putting this onto a TV with an HDMI cord above their concessions window or whatever, different places of the facility. This will just display the lineups that are coming throughout the course of the evening, as well as some format information. And this auto refreshes every 30 seconds. So you could literally set this screen up and never look at it again. Every time you save a race is completed, it'll fall off of the screen. Every time you add a new lineup, it'll show up on this screen, and it'll just only show you upcoming events. So, I mean, that's a pretty handy tool as well, especially if you've got somewhere in your pit area where you've always centrally located posted lineups. You can now, if you've got somebody that you're paying to staple them to a wood board or write them on a whiteboard, you can now pay them to do something else because this will do that for them. All that kind of stuff. So again, if I go back here, your number of laps that you put in the races tab will also transfer into orbits. So be cognizant of that. This was an 8-lap race that Scott set it up. So we're just getting ready to auto checker the race now. We just auto checkered the race. Perfect. I didn't have to click anything. We're all good. Let's let the whole field cross. Awesome. Now I can stop the race and come back into my race pass. You're going to just find that you're doing the same thing over and over again. Now I can go to heat 1 because that's the one we just did. Heat 1, we're good. Import. There are my results. And then you'll do the same thing for the feature. Yeah, works pretty well.
And so the cool thing is, like I first started testing this on sort of Boxing Day last year. I did an event in Tasmania and I was helping out the rest of the team back at the Motorplex, and I was able to do this remotely. So that worked really well for me being able to process that and help them out. So probably the last point there is the points one. So, you know, if we pretended that we run our feature race as well, we can actually assign our points straight away. Austin, I'm not sure, am I sharing or are you sharing at the moment?
Yeah, let me stop. So I was answering questions. There we go.
All right. So if I'm on my lineup screen, say we've run out, what I'm just going to do quickly is I'll just create a feature race lineup and just get rid of that. So I'm just going to say we've done that one. Oops. So we've saved the lineup there. And then in the results, I'm just going to say, oops. That's our order for our feature race. So now that our night's finished, the last thing we need to do before we pack up and go home is allocate our points. Now, previously, I know some tracks still do, manual things with Excel. Some tracks are using orbits to do it. I don't know if we've got a point. Yes, we do. All right. We haven't set one up in here, have we, Austin?
I don't know. I don't use that profile. That's yours.
I didn't. So normally I would have one set up in this. What I might do quickly, rather than setting one up quickly, is I'll just show you one of the other ones I've got. Sorry, stand by. I'll just change windows.
While Scott's doing that, if I could ask one favor from everybody before we wrap up here, if I can get you to go into the chat and tell us what track or facility or organization you're with for tracking purposes, we'd like to know so we can have a better idea as to who's been on here and who hasn't. So if you can go to the chat and do that, that would help us a great deal. Sorry, go ahead, Scott.
Very good. My screen has decided it doesn't want to load, so it's taking a little bit longer than I was hoping. Sorry about this.
I can definitely share and go through points and pace schemes.
There we go. Yep, give me. I think it's working now. Hang on. It just took a little bit longer than I was hoping to. All right, here we go. So if I just go back to a previous event we've done at the Motorplex, just as an example. Alrighty. Oh, hang on. All right, you can see that all right now. Hopefully, yep. Alrighty. So here, when you'll be able to actually add a point scheme. So we've already got the Perth Motorplex Track Championship added in there, like I've set that up previously. If I hit add there, I haven't hit schedule. And you can see here, it's given me some event totals. So the first screen that comes up is the total of everything. And then underneath it, you've got a breakdown. Now, this stuff I've set up manually, and we'll show you how to do that probably another day, just because we're running out of time. But you can see here, this is what I've set up for our feature races. There's our heat 1 points. There's our heat 2 points. If you're doing show up points, that can be included as well. And this has got the event totals all ready to go there. So that's how easy it is. You're literally just hitting calculate and the points are there. The cool thing is they get uploaded straight away, and they can, if you've got an MRP website, they can actually link straight to it. So if I show you the Maddington Toyota Sprint Car Series 1, you can see here on the side, we've got our championship points. So that's literally been uploaded straight after an event. You can click on the points. You can see, so the drivers with the photos are the ones that have claimed their profile. It automatically creates all the stats and all that sort of thing. And if I wanted to, I could click on the driver and see their breakdown. So you can see for this event, this is how many they got, this is their media day points. Then you've got the breakdown of all their season results and so on. And that's automatically happened. And you can also do the same thing when you actually visit the My Race Pass site. So if I go to the same thing for Maddington Toyota, you can go to their points and they're automatically loaded up there. And if I wanted to look at the details, everything's there. So if people are questioning points, it can be done straight away. And there's usually no issues beyond, like they're checking it to make sure it's all good, and you can fix it if there is an issue straight away. And I think that's about all I needed to actually share, I think, tonight. Have I missed anything, Austin?
Just a couple questions in the chat. I was halfway through typing an answer, but I will. I'll just say it, I guess. Warren asked, managing payouts through here. Also, yes, you can manage payouts through My Race Pass. If you go back to the entry screen, you can add a car owner for every driver. That's in relation to payouts, so you can add who got paid, how much they got paid, and have that track throughout the entire season. In the United States, we still have an ancient technology called checks, where My Race Pass will actually print checks for the drivers or owners as well. I'm being told that, again, does not apply over there, but you can still use the tracking features to track what everybody got paid, which I don't know if that affects tax things for you, but it does for us. So it's a big help. Sean says, if a track sets up an event, can a class upload the results to their own scoring ladder? So yes. So that's like a track versus a series, right? In a series or a club, whatever you guys are going to call it. They'll add, so you'll add that class to your schedule. They'll add that date as well to their schedule. A series profile will be able to manage their class and their class only. So if you've got a club coming in that is, you know, only 6-cylinder non-wing sprint cars, which I found out was a thing over there. So they'll be able to manage their class through their profile. So their lineups, their results, their entries, whatever. But the track profile will house all of the data and can manage any class that's a part of the event. So the track profile can manage all of the classes. A series profile can manage the series associated with that, or the class associated with that series. The only distinction that I would make there is that point standings are still separated. Lineups are integrated, entries are integrated, results are integrated, all that stuff. Points, though, would still be separate. So if Perth has their own late model point standings and late models Western Australia has their own point standings, one set of results for an event can create points for both profiles, if that makes sense. I hope that I explained that well. I don't know if I did. Like I said, I'm an announcer, so I've been known to pontificate for long periods of time without saying anything of substance. So, Scott?
I was just going to say pretty much exactly what Austin said is what we did last year. So the profile I just logged into and showed you was the Motorplex. So we obviously ran late models and sprint cars, for example. We allocated from that account. I was able to allocate the Perth Motorplex Track Championship points, so they're all uploaded on the Perth Motorplex side of things and on their MRP account. Then at the end of the night, all I had to do was log on to the late model WA account and assign the points to the races using their point scheme, and that was done as well. And then I'd log on to the main control to do the same thing.
Cool.
And I just see the question from Nathan. I think he may have already answered it, but obviously just for the purpose of the training, we just put the random numbers like 23 or whatever. But, you know, if we're going to put the T22 or the WA 48 or whatever, that can all go in there as well. The only requirement is that none of the numbers are the same. So if you wanted, you could have a W48 and a WA 48, but you couldn't have two 48s, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yep. Cool. I think that's all we had to share. If anybody has any follow-up questions, stick around. I'll stick around here for a little while as well. You know, potentially Scott will, and we'll try to answer them for you. Otherwise, I'm going to stop the recording here. It'll be on YouTube. I'll send out another email with the recording as I have the last couple of days, you know, regarding this. So you should have that. If you want to share it with anybody else at your facility, you can. If you haven't told us in the chat what track or series or organization you're with, please do so. And other than that, guys, I really appreciate you taking the time. You know, we're at just over 90% of the circle tracks that exist in the United States and Canada use My Race Pass. Australia is a new frontier for us. We're exceptionally excited about it. I thank you for taking part in this. Thank you for helping to make that a reality for all of us. And yeah, appreciate the time here.
And just what?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I was just ending the recording here.
Just to answer your question there, Dan, you can.